Hello, everybody. Welcome to the stream on this lovely Monday night. My name is Josh, and I've got my finger on the pulse of music for the second week in a row. They said it couldn't be done. They said he only had one in him, and they were wrong. We're proving all the haters wrong, all the doubters. Today is week 2 of the Pulse of Music. We're listening to this wonderful album, For Keeps. Well, I say it's wonderful. It's wonderful spiritually. I haven't heard it yet, but For Keeps is this week's album. We'll get into a little bit about that in just a second. Normally, I have a rating system. Today, totally different. Not rating each track. We'll get into why later. So already throwing some twists at you in week 2. Too Close to Touch is the band this week. They are a post-hardcore band from, that label's very wide, post-hardcore, right? But we're going to call them post-hardcore, from Lexington, Kentucky. They are a 3-piece, although they started out as a 5-piece, and the members are Keaton Pierce, Mason Marble, and Kenneth Downey. Now, I'm going to guess that everyone in the chat does not know the history of this band, but why is this album special, or why are we doing this now? For Keeps is the most recent album released by Too Close to Touch. Their original album, their first album, Nerve Endings, was released in 2015. The vocalist Keaton died in 2022 at age 31 from complications from acute pancreatitis. And Keaton's death, I think, really shook the scene in a lot of ways, just because this was a band. Too Close to Touch was really on the rise over the years. And this was a band that meant a lot to a lot of people in the scene. Particularly, Keaton is really, I think a lot of people think of him as the heart and soul of this band, not just because he's the vocalist. He's the easiest, we connect with vocalists kind of more easily than we connect with music a lot of the times, because it's a voice, it's directly expressive, it's emotional. Keaton particularly lended himself. He gave this band a real unique sound with his voice, with his singing, but also his songwriting. For instance, so I have some quotes. Quote from Keaton about the meaning of his Too Close to Touch's first album, and I think that really kind of sums up why Too Close to Touch meant a lot to a lot of people. He said, "I guess it's just exciting showing the world our message. Not to sound cliche, but I want it to help people. It's a very brutally honest record. I opened up about a lot of stuff that I've never talked about before the album. I want to be able to change people like they changed me." And that ethos of being in a band, but feeling like you're serving your audience as an outlet. That's a kind of a situation that a lot of artists find themselves in, but a lot of artists, I think, feel like that is kind of a default, and Too Close to Touch and Keaton really put their all into giving their audience that emotional release. And so for me, my history with this band is, it's kind of mixed, honestly. Their first album, in I think 2015, 2016, maybe, the song Pretty Little Thing was my number 1 listened to song on Spotify that year. Just played the shit out of it. I thought it was so catchy. I thought Keaton's vocals really soared. They had this Kellen Quinn style, this really higher pitched tenor, but very expressive. And I just couldn't stop listening to that song. But then I listened to more of the albums, and they just didn't they didn't hook me in a way. I saw the potential, but I was never really considered myself the biggest fan of this band. And then in revisiting music for this stream, I sort of felt that I got them a little more this time. I haven't listened to this album yet. I don't know that I've heard any songs on this track list. I'm really excited to listen to this, because let's talk a little bit more about this particular album. Like I mentioned, Keaton died in 2022, and it was a shock to everyone. On on Keaton's death, the band just posted on Instagram. That was how the news was announced to everybody. And this is what they said. Our friend and brother Keaton passed away suddenly and unexpectedly just a short time ago due to a medical condition he had been dealing with privately. An editorial note, it's not clear if that's the pancreatitis or if the pancreatitis came from that medical condition. We don't really know what that is. But either way, he was dealing with this privately, and then this is how the world found out, basically. It goes on to say, we are shaken and saddened and speechless. We all relied on Keaton to put words to feelings like these and convey them in a way that was undeniably one of a kind. Keaton lives on through these songs that we made together. He lives on through that feeling you get when you listen to them. And the reason why I don't really think that we're going to be rating the songs off of this album is because it's kind of a miracle that it exists at all. You know, like, has anyone in chat, if you guys ever listened to like a posthumous album or been exposed to posthumous music from people, I find that it's a little sketchy sometimes, right? It's like unclear. Did it come from the rest of the band releasing the material? Did it come from the family? Did it come from the record label? Like identifying like why posthumous material is coming out and where did it get sourced from is a really key question, I think, to identifying like the legitimacy of posthumous material. And Too Close to Touch, they pretty much immediately announced with this album's release, they said, this is it, we're done. This is the last you're going to hear from us. Too Close to Touch was Keaton and the other two members. There is no Too Close to Touch without them. There will be another project from the other members maybe, but it's not going to have this name. And I find that in fact, one of the members of the band said Too Close to Touch would never have existed without Keaton and will not exist without him in the future. And I think that really gives this album like an air of legitimacy. They're constantly talking about this album being like a tribute to him. They even released a little 4-minute long documentary about the album. It's short. It doesn't add a ton, but it is kind of a touching like overarching in like overarching vision for why this exists. And that link is in the show description for afterwards if you're interested. So I think that like this is a pretty legitimate and touching tribute in concept. And even the features here are friends of Keaton, bands with members who are friends with Keaton, and sometimes past collaborators. Like The Word Alive did a feature on the first album as well. So this has like a real connection to the scene. They sourced some of his vocals for this. They have unreleased demos, so a lot of these songs are made from unreleased demos that feature Keaton's vocals. I'll be really curious to see like how many of those show up. You know, are these more instrumental? Are these like completed by other vocalists potentially? It'll be interesting. This is meant to be more of a celebration than a review. So let's see what we got. Let's start with Novocaine. And this is already much more like early Too Close to Touch. Definitely a lot of synths driving this, Nikki, for sure. Oh man, I'm already reading the lyrics for the next section too, because I know they're from Bad Omens. Yeah, this is Bad Omens here. Man, I am so it's so touching to feel that section, the lyrics in the section where Bad Omens comes in are it's such an incredible tribute to Keaton. Um, it's kind of like an obvious metaphor, and it just works. It just to be able to for him for to hear Noah singing like I'll be your vessel, basically. I'm you're not here, and I will be the one to take your words and move them forward. It's a really beautiful and special sentiment. It's really hard not to interpret, just this song doesn't feel like it's particularly about like the Keaton's part of the song doesn't necessarily feel like it's particularly about his disease really, but then you find lyrics like this, like, a symptom slips right through my veins. It's hard to take that as literal instead of a metaphor, or rather it's like very easy to take that as literal instead of a metaphor. um and I feel like I also struggle doing that, like listening back. Too Close to Touch is kind of like doing that to me the more I listen to them, where I'm like, oh, is this song about whatever Keaton was dealing with? Oh, is this lyric actually about something, some sort of, disease reference? We'll see. I love that we're already hearing like isolated vocals from Keaton too. This is like really a beautiful tribute. Um, let's keep it rolling. Let's go to Disappear. What's going on, Bree? Nice to see you here. Oh no, I have a cue going. Oh, I blew it. Oh no, everybody. This isn't the right band at all. I'm going to see these guys tomorrow, so I was listening to them in preparation. All right, here we are. Disappear. I'm so curious how many demos, like how much of this is made from demos and how much of this is made in the studio. I'm happy with it either way. It's cool that it exists. Totally agree, Mike. They would fit perfectly on a bill with those kinds of guys. Maybe even 1,000 Below. Yeah, it's good. Not quite as strong as Novocaine in my opinion, but it definitely feels. I'm so consistently impressed by how much. This is a weird thought, but like how much of like normal songs these sound like. I was envisioning that they had like some scraps of demos and like, some segments here and there, and they're gonna have to have people fill in and like fill them out. But they clearly have like quite a treasure trove of demo and other recorded vocals from Keaton, so that they're able to like just make these full songs. I mean, when bands record albums, we see like 10 tracks, 12 tracks, but they usually have like 40, dozens and dozens of tracks. So maybe these are like leftovers from Nerve Endings sessions, which would be kind of cool. Feels like a quintessential Too Close to Touch song. It would be right at home on Nerve Endings. I'm noticing that with this time around, one of the things that bothered me listening back to the previous Too Close to Touch albums was like a really synthetic drum sound where it sounds super compressed, and like a lot of modern hardcore, post-hardcore and metal bands, like I feel like they've been leaning towards these really like compressed electronic sounding drums. But these drums sound really good so far. So like I'm digging that. Yeah, I think I also I want to go back, not to harp on the past here, but this song Novocaine with Bad Omens. Bad Omens on tour did a cover of the Too Close to Touch song Sympathy from their previous album, which the name is escaping me right now. But I linked that in the description of the stream because holy hell, I'm kind of like mid on Bad Omens, which is like blasphemous to say. Don't come for me. I don't know. I shouldn't have said that. Oh my God, I'm gonna get like absolutely ran out of town by the Bad Omens mob. I swear. I should be looking over my shoulder the rest of this stream. They have a really rabid fan base, but that cover. So they brought up the other members, Mason and Kenny, I believe. Mason and Kenny. They brought them up on stage to perform Sympathy, a cover of Sympathy, and it is so powerful. They kind of like stitch in the lyrics, or stitch in the vocals. Keaton sings some parts, Noah sings other parts, and it's like really emotional. So just wanted to shout that out and share that with everybody because like, it really gave me an appreciation for Bad Omens and what they do. All right, so now let's check out the funniest song on the album, Hurt Reynolds. It's probably not a funny song, but what a name, Hurt Reynolds. No, Mike, keep it off the internet. Very different instrumentation with this one. Sweet percussion moments. This really sounds like a 3 Days Grace sort of song or something. You know, more like post-grunge, 2000s era. That was an interesting one. That sounds kind of out of place to me, not gonna lie. Not just in the context of the album. This album is not meant to be taken. No one should take this album as like a full narrative thread, right? Every track that we have it's more of like a curation and like a celebration and a tribute, right? So it's not out of place in the sense of, oh, it doesn't fit with the flow of the album. It's more like, yeah, it's got that kind of like, I don't know, hard rock vibe, which I don't think they really have in any of their other material. It's like really interesting. It's not my favorite for them, but I will say like the percussion's going off on this track. Like they had that sort of like more bongo layer in there in the verses and playing on the hi-hats a little bit. I feel like listening to this album is really giving me an appreciation for not obviously Keaton, but everybody else in Too Close to Touch. The other two guys, Mason and Kenny, who are not, I gotta be honest, I didn't really like pay that much attention to them when I was just kind of casually listening to Too Close to Touch. It felt like Keaton was like obviously the star and like his lyrics and melodies are what are bringing me to it. But both when I was revisiting material before the stream, but also so far in this album, I feel like the contributions of the other guys, you do really hear that it was the three of them together that made it special, even if Keaton really had that like star power. But the arrangements and the percussion on this track really, they show that they were trying to swing. They would take swings maybe more often than some of their contemporaries in this subgenre. I wish every other track had a pun title, but it doesn't. So moving on to Hopeless, featuring The Word Alive, who also featured with them on their first album, Nerve Endings. Sort of like a friend tribute on this one. Sounding quintessential, Too Close to Touch. Right in the pocket, baby. Here's Telly. Atmospheric guitar break. Yeah, man. That feels very much like what you want to hear them make, or at least what I want to hear them make, like if they were around. Super memorable chorus. Totally agree, Mike. Like it's simple. Like the choruses are they just soar. Keaton's voice and Telly's voice on this one too. Like they kind of just soar in like simplicity and simple. Simplicity and simple. They soar with simplicity, with like, you know, one word as like the kind of main thing that gets wrapped around, that everything wraps around here. Hopeless in this, and that riff, that like guitar riff that begins and ends the song, just feels like a beautiful like melodic little note. I've always thought of Too Close to Touch as like a really good gateway band for a lot of people too. Is like they have a pop sensibility and a very accessible sort of like sound with these huge choruses and kind of more emotional moments, but then like they can turn up kind of the aggression in some songs, and then, you know, kind of you start listening to Too Close to Touch, and then maybe you listen to the word. Oh, what is the word alive? Maybe you listen to that next. You listen to Bad Omens next, and you kind of step heavier and heavier through the melodic scene until eventually you're like a full blown, you know, metalcore person. You're fully just like listening to Counterparts and then Boundaries and eventually Paleface as that's the pipeline of this channel. But yeah, I think that this feels like a quintessential Too Close to Touch song. You Saw Me Like It on Spotify, and that makes me that reminded me that I didn't. I should have ceremoniously added the first one as well. I think those are both really solid tracks. I also thought Telly sounded really good with them. Telly is the vocalist of The Word Alive for the uninitiated there. I've never been that big on The Word Alive. I think because I didn't like catch them in the early days. I just like kind of missed them. And so I discovered them late, and then I was like, oh, this is not what I thought, not what I wanted at the time. But Telly slots in like really great here. They're like give and take. It's a natural fit. So it kind of makes me want to revisit them a little bit too. Let's keep it running. Heavy Hearts. Sounds like we might have found a ballad. Ring the bell. Ballad alert. that soaring line feels so Keaton. It's very Kellen Quinn too. I mean, I said that earlier, but real quick pause to say that it's a meme at this point with this channel. I swear to God, if I have one meme, it's going to be the times I talk about this. But you can hear these little imperfections in his vocal lines, in the chorus particularly, but in a lot of other lines in this too, where his voice kind of like cracks, subtle, like there's a crack at the height of the note. There's a little waver. It sounds imperfect. It's not. It could easily be like papered over in production, or even just done multiple times, multiple takes to get rid of it. And it's present in this, and it just had such a like organic sound. Even in this, in Trophy Eyes last week, we experienced that where it was just like this incredibly emotional like vocal break in some of their songs. This is maybe I find to be like a little less like, gut-wrenching emotional, those breaks, but just like gives it this like this liveness. And I feel like producers, that's something that I feel like we got to watch out for with albums these days, is like, are they too polished? Are they too clean? Particularly with some of these really melodic, virtuosic vocal artists. And I'm really pleased that a band that sometimes has felt too produced in the past, in my perspective, is really like letting that shine. So let's see if we hear it at the end of the song. And that may not change. That's great. I don't. I was a little worried, that this would sound cheesy or just otherwise like kind of lame, but I feel like this is like Keaton's show right here. I mean, the guitar riff is good too, but this is like some of the. I saw an oof in the comments when some of these lyrics came up. How do I stay? Don't ask me how I stay awake when you're fast asleep in a dream that does not involve me. I feel like this is a real like just clear gut punch of a ballad. Most of Too Close to Touch's songs seem like they're about relationships, kind of like this, but the imagery in this, my trembling lips don't hide the hell that's streaming down your face, combined with the vocal performance in it, I really, really like this. It's actually made me feel like it made me want to see a live version of this really badly, knowing that we're never going to get that. Of all the songs we've heard today, as much as I really love the other ones, this one feels like this would have been really special live, because it is just Keaton and a guitar. It shows you how different the quality of the vocal samples that they have is, because this sounds like great. This sounds really fully produced and like it could have been on an album in the past. And then Hurt Reynolds, the kind of butt rocky sounding one, I feel like his voice felt pretty kind of like weak, unpolished, maybe like it wasn't the highest quality recording, or maybe it wasn't the most like finished thing, the most perfectly recorded, whatever. There's definitely a discrepancy about, how complete were these ideas. So let's move on. We got Control next. This half-hour long album. We're already closing in on the end of it.
Terrified, alone inside, it's head confide in no one else but me. They sing. Why am I sinking? Why am I stopping? Everything that's gonna save me. Why am I sinking? Why am I stopping? Everything that's gonna save me.
Just love the grit that he gets on those high notes. A little spacey synth interlude.
Attack and fight, maybe I'm at peace. They sing. Deeper, deeper it goes.
That was Control. Yeah, that was their lead single off of this, which I have heard before. It just sounds like a strong Too Close to Touch song. You know, this would be right at home on either of their first two albums. Definitely one of those songs that you look into these lyrics and like, I don't think this song is really about Keaton's disease, but then the idea this, why am I stopping everything that's going to save me? Is that like alluding to something that he knew about with his health and that he wasn't doing, or if it was, or something that he could have changed? You know, is it him grappling with his own agency and his mortality? Probably not, is my guess, but like, it's hard not to see every little hint that you have in that light. And that's just like the unfortunate consequence of when an artist dies, is all their work is then going to be filtered through this question of like, is it about that? More often than not, it's probably not, but yeah, just sounded right at home for them. And maybe one too many choruses at the end, but like, come on, every band does that. Every band just tacks another chorus on. Why not? Just give it, give the people what they want, right? I'm cool when it just ends, Let's keep it rolling. Designer Decay featuring Cane Hill, which is a band I really never have listened to for no good reason.
Slipping away, but you said yesterday you would place that old chemical break that's been tagged in your veins and haze that makes you cold. There's no way you could know. Why won't you look away as I begin to fade?
Well, there's Cane Hill. Nothing like a huge bend in a breakdown. New Silverstein, Mike, I give you that. I feel like the newer couple albums, this definitely would fit with them. Okay. This is definitely a pit building moment, right? When I say jump, everybody fucking jump! 1, 2, 3, jump! Oh no! Missed it. Oh, of course there's not a jumping section when the chorus sounds like that. Well, I gotta say they blew it. They absolutely blew it. They had a perfect setup for a huge jumpy build, but then of course, like, I mean, just forgot what the chorus sounded like. It would never have built if that's the chorus. It's never building to a jump like that. But if only. Missed opportunity. But this feels like the least Too Close to Touch song of everything that we've heard, or like the furthest, either the most like experimental with their sound, the furthest outside of, if you mapped all of their songs on a chart, this would be the one that's like furthest outside of like what makes a core Too Close to Touch song. Mike mentioned that it sounds like Silverstein, and I mean, newer Silverstein for sure. I would agree with that. Not my favorite of the album, I gotta say. But I do like, and I do think the thing that feels very Too Close to Touch is the electronic influence, and sort of the willingness to push into new sonic territory for them. Like the fact that it is outside of that map. Like I mentioned earlier, go listen to those EPs. They put out 4 EPs over like a year and a half or 2 years or something like that. And they definitely all sound, well, they don't sound like this, but they also don't sound like the other songs from this album. This album feels right at home with their first 2 albums, and the EPs feel like they are making different music. They are making contemporary dark pop, synth pop music, and it sounds good. It's like perfectly fine stuff. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing that they changed their sound for those EPs, but just fascinating that the stuff that the material that they had in the closet was from the older stuff. So let's close it out. Let's get to this last song here. They Don't Even Know.
My life been taken underneath my skin. I found a place to hide from them, and please tell me why.
There we have it. It fades out slowly. That definitely set off alarm bells for the "is every song about Keaton's disease" conspiracy. Am I right? I mean, again, there's so little like so few clues in this that it's hard to like actually say that with confidence. But just you hear someone, help, and even if this like blaming yourself for it, I'm not sorry anymore. That feels like it could be. Particularly if you think about the sequencing of this album and the name, the title of this, the track, they don't even know. They don't even sense a thing inside. They don't even know. That's pretty eerie, I think. That's eerie. Yeah, it's interesting that this is the last note that the band wanted us to sit with. I think it's kind of uncomfortable, honestly. I don't know. What do you guys think? As far as like, what would you put of these 8 songs? Which one do you think makes sense to end the album with? I would have flipped them myself. This is like, I'm just coming up with this on the fly, so I could be wrong. But if I was Too Close to Touch, I would have flipped Novocaine and They Don't Even Know. Start out with introducing this idea of like, they don't know that there's something wrong with me or whatever. And then end with Noah singing about, I will sing your words, or if you can't sing, I'll carry it on. I'll sing for you. That sort of optimistic ending. Although that does put the focus on Noah in a weird way. Like Too Close to Touch, that would be kind of weird, I guess, now that I'm thinking about it, to be like, the last thing we want you to hear is Noah Sebastian, and ignore us. Look at him. He's going for us now. So maybe it is right. Nikki likes the ending on this. I do think that there is something to be said for just the reality of death and grief is like, that's what we're left with. And we have to grapple with the fact that Keaton's not here anymore. And it happened. It was a shock to everyone, and there's nothing we can do about it. That was For Keeps, which I didn't even mention it. I forgot the title. I forgot to talk about the album cover and the title. The album cover itself, I'll show it to you right now. This is the album cover. It's zoomed in a little bit. I don't think there's much to say about the album cover. I have the name of the artist who made it, something Wit, but not Nitwit. Oh, Whit Flint made the album cover. That's just their logo. And so to me, I see this as like the Too Close to Touch logo, kind of in decay, but also in this like almost metallic, like permanent kind of etched, almost as if it's etched into metal, like permanent, but also like decaying or, I guess otherwise like beaten texture. So not a whole lot to it other than like a familiar image. And then the title For Keeps. Keeps is one of Keaton's nicknames. Apparently had a ton of nicknames. And so not only is it For Keeps, obviously like this is a keepsake for the fans and for the band and, just the general Too Close to Touch world. It's also quite literally For Keeps Keaton. I feel like I want to, for my own selfishness, I want to play this. So while we're just taking a tour of Too Close to Touch's discography in celebration of Keaton and the band, Eiley is a much listened to. I'm not going to listen to it on the stream. It's a must listen, so emotionally raw and intense. And I believe it's about the death of Keaton's sister, which happened pretty suddenly. There are lyrics like, why couldn't you take me instead of her? That sort of thing. Eiley was her name. Really intense. Also a closing track from this album. Sympathy's a great song, super catchy. It's obviously, one of their most listened to songs. And then what I want to end us on is this song, Pretty Little Thing, because I fucking love it. It's my most listened to song of like 2016. And I don't know. It's just so like energetic and excited. Just bonus track before we get out of here. I don't know where I discovered this band. If anybody else has heard of them, where did you find Too Close to Touch? I think this might have just come up on my Spotify. So catchy. I'm resisting. I'm taking every ounce to not sing it. so out of my range.
You better turn away. My intention is ending. My intention is ending. Oh.
Yeah, just it's unfair that a song like that can be so high and powerful to sing, because it's like all you want to do is scream it at the top of your lungs. It's so catchy, it's so fun. It's just like, God damn it, Keaton, You make us sound like just fucking assholes if we try to sing it like the way you do. So good, so fun. It's like it just hits. It just hits good. That concludes our celebration of Too Close to Touch. As I mentioned, there's a couple links in the description of this one for the like 4-minute documentary, and the documentary is a strong word. It's just like a video. It's just a YouTube video, 4-minute like YouTube video about the background of this. And I've pretty much told you a lot of the stuff in it, but you'll get to hear the remaining band members talk in their own words about it too. And then the Bad Omens cover of Sympathy that just like absolutely rocked my socks. Yeah, there's no rating on this one. Just one of these, you know. It's a big deal when beloved members of the scene leave us, and it's really fun to be able to celebrate Keaton tonight. So
thanks for joining with me today. This is super, super fun. As always, I'm Josh. I've got my finger on the pulse of music. See you next week.